Rebuilding trust during a separation has nothing to do with convincing her to come back. It has everything to do with becoming the stable and safe man she can finally trust. If you're separated after infidelity, you're probably wondering, how am I supposed to rebuild trust from over here? And the honest answer is that it isn't easy, but it is very possible. You don't have to be near something to know it's safe. Think of some of the safest places in the world: a police station, a bank vault, a panic room. I'm gonna take a wild guess that you aren't currently in any of those places, but you still know that you'd probably be more safer if you were. That's what we want your spouse to realize, that she'd be more safe if she was with you. That's the mission. Now let's help you accomplish it. So in this video, I wanna walk you through what rebuilding trust can actually look like during separation, even after infidelity. Whether you're the person who was betrayed, the person who was unfaithful, or someone trying to understand what healing requires, this isn't about a rushing decision. It's about creating the conditions where truth, clarity, and emotional safety can begin. Set expectations. Before we go any further, I want to say this clearly. Rebuilding trust doesn't mean the betrayed partner has to stay. It doesn't mean forgiveness must happen quickly. And it doesn't mean the unfaithful partner gets to demand another chance simply because they feel sorry. Infidelity creates grief, shock, anger, confusion, and all of those create a loss of emotional safety. Not just me, but many relationship experts say that affair recovery requires long-term truth-telling, accountability, boundaries, and professional support. Separation can be a space for healing, but only if both people use it intentionally. So the goal during separation is not to win your partner back as fast as possible. The goal is to become trustworthy, create safety, and allow the betrayed partner to observe whether the change is real. Step 1, end the betrayal completely. The first step seems obvious and simple to say, but many times it's difficult to live. The betrayal has to be completely over. There can't be ongoing contact, hidden conversations, secret accounts, and especially the "we're just friends" exception. If the affair is still active in any form, trust can't be rebuilt because the wound is staying open. The betrayed partner needs to know that the threat has ended. That might mean cutting off contact, being transparent about communication, and changing routines. For the unfaithful partner, this is where accountability begins. Not with defensiveness, not with "I already said sorry," but with the clear statement like, "I understand that my choices broke your trust. I've ended that relationship completely, and I'm willing to be transparent so that you don't have to guess what's true." Step 2, declare the purpose of separation. Separation shouldn't become a punishment game, a manipulation strategy, or a way to avoid the hard conversations. If the goal is healing, then both people need clarity about what the separation is for. Is it for emotional stabilization? Is it for deciding whether reconciliation is even possible? Is it for individual therapy? Or is it for creating space while boundaries are being rebuilt? During this time, couples may need agreements around communication, parenting, if children are involved, finances, dating, social media, and how often they check in. The more vague the separation is, the easier it is for anxiety and assumptions to take over. A helpful phrase is this: we're separated, but we still need clear boundaries so that we don't create more damage while we're trying to heal. Step 3, practice radical honesty without cruelty. After infidelity, the betrayed partner often feels like reality has been rewritten. She may question what was true, what was fake, what she missed, and whether she can trust her own instincts anymore. That's why honesty matters so much. But honesty doesn't mean dumping painful details carelessly. It means answering necessary questions with empathy, patience, and consistency. It means not minimizing the affair, not blaming the betrayed partner, and not changing the story every time new information comes out. For the unfaithful partner, a trust-building response may sound something like this: "I know answering this is painful, and I don't want to hurt you anymore. But I also understand that hiding or minimizing would hurt you again. So I'll answer honestly, and if we need a therapist to help us, I'm willing to do that." Step 4, rebuild safety before demanding closeness. One of the biggest mistakes after infidelity is trying to rush emotional or physical closeness before safety has been restored. The betrayed partner may still be in shock. They may have intrusive thoughts, They may need reassurance one day and distance the next. This doesn't mean they're being difficult. It means their sense of safety has been disrupted. So during separation, the unfaithful partner should focus less on saying, "When are you coming back?" and more on showing, "I can be safe to talk to. I can be honest. I can be patient. I can tolerate your pain without making it about my discomfort." Safety sounds like, "I won't pressure you to heal faster. I'll keep showing up consistently, and I'll understand that trust has to be earned through actions." Step 5, create transparent agreements. Transparency is not about control. It's about rebuilding a sense of reality after secrecy has damaged it. During separation, transparency may include check-ins, clear communication about schedules, openness about social media, financial clarity, or agreed boundaries around contact with others. But transparency should be specific and mutual in structure, even if the responsibility for repair rests heavily on the person who betrayed trust. Vague promises like, "I'll do better," aren't enough. Trust needs observable behavior. Try replacing vague promises with concrete ones. "I'll check in every evening at 7. I'll tell you before plans change. I won't delete messages. I'll attend therapy weekly. I'll answer questions without getting defensive." Step 6, stop asking for trust and start demonstrating it. Trust isn't rebuilt because someone says, "You should trust me by now." Trust is rebuilt when actions become predictable, honest, and emotionally safe over time. If you are unfaithful, your partner may test the consistency of your change, not because they want to punish you, but because inconsistency is what injured them. They're watching to see whether your remorse turns into character growth. So ask yourself, am I being honest even when it's uncomfortable? Am I respecting boundaries even when I feel lonely? Am I taking responsibility without blaming? Am I doing the work when no one is applauding me for it? That's where trust begins to return, not in one dramatic moment, but in small, repeated moments where your behavior matches your words. Step 7, use the separation to do individual work. Separation can reveal whether both people are willing to grow. The betrayed partner may need support for grief, trauma, anger, and rebuilding self-trust. The unfaithful partner needs to understand why they crossed boundaries, how they justified it, and what patterns allowed secrecy, and what must change so betrayal doesn't repeat. This is where therapy, coaching, support groups, journaling, and honest self-reflection can matter. But the key is this: don't use self-work as a performance. Do it because becoming healthier is necessary, whether the relationship continues or not. Step 8, decide what reconciliation would require. At some point, separation needs direction. If both partners are considering reconciliation, they need to define what would make reconnection safe enough to attempt again. That might include ongoing transparency, couples counseling, a written boundary agreement, definitely no contact with the affair partner, emotional check-ins, conflict tools, and a shared plan for rebuilding intimacy slowly. If you're the unfaithful partner, you're saying, "I know separation doesn't guarantee reconciliation. I'm not entitled to your trust, and I won't pressure you to give it to me before you're ready. What I can do is be honest, be consistent, respect your boundaries, and keep doing the work to become safe and trustworthy." If you're the betrayed partner, you're saying, "I'm not ready to trust your words alone. I need time, consistency, and transparency, and space to understand what else I need." If we continue, it's going to be built on truth and pressure. Rebuilding trust during separation and after infidelity is possible, but it requires patience, accountability, boundaries, and a willingness to build something new, not simply return to what existed before. If you're looking for a transformation from the inside out for you or your spouse, make sure to read my ebook, How to Love Her Like Christ Loved the Church. It's the first link in the description. If you appreciate this message or my way of delivering it, do me a favor and give this video a like. If you want more tools like this, subscribe and I'll keep them coming your way. If you feel like this video could help someone else, don't be greedy. Sharing is caring. Share this video with them and let them learn something new too. I look forward to catching up with you in the next video, which is coming up right now. But until then, God bless you and your family.